Let's talk about the income documentation that may or may not be required when buying a home or refinancing a home in general. So just getting a mortgage, how about that? So it's hard to make a video saying here's exactly what you need because different programs have different requirements. But let's go over kind of the general rule of thumb. So general rule of thumb says that when you buy a home, you can kind of think in twos. The rule of thumb is like two pay stubs. Well, what two pay stubs is really what it really means is 30 days of pay stubs. So like in February, where there's 28 days, technically need more than the month's worth of pay stubs to cover that 30 days for some loan programs. You need 2 years of tax returns, personal and business if you own a business. And by the way, they consider you self-employed if you own more than 25% of said business. 2 years of W-2s. So you think, well, why do you need my W-2s if my tax returns show that I made X dollars? Well, let's take an example. If somebody makes $100,000 W-2 income and it's on their tax return, why would we need to see the W-2? Well, for all we know, that W-2 could be two $50,000 jobs. So we see the total. We know that there was 100 grand of income, but we don't know where it came from and who got the W-2 income, because it could be, husband got one, wife got the other. So two W-2s, 2 years tax returns, two pay stubs, covering 30 days. That's typically what's kind of the generic, what we need for income. But here's the reality. If somebody's strong, well qualified, putting big down payment, works for a W-2 salaried big company, Fortune 500 company, there's a possibility we may not need any of that. So it's a lot of it's going to be based up to the automated systems, meaning like we run stuff, the mortgage industry runs stuff through, whether it's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, whether it's FHA or VA or whatever, we run stuff through the system, and then it in turn tells us what's required. So it'll say like, oh, based on this, we only need like, maybe it's just a pay stub. Maybe it's, 1 year tax return instead of two. All those things kind of change what it is. And then if you throw in bonus, commission, overtime, they're going to want to see a history of that. So if they see, some of this may be, well, I gave you exactly what you asked for, but if you give us stuff and it shows maybe there's a decline in income in terms of, commissions or bonus or overtime, they're going to want to start asking more questions and want more documentation. If you're self-employed, as I mentioned, they may need or want multiple years of tax returns for business. And then they're going to want potentially, whether it's, it depends on partnership or LLC, but they want the K1s that kind of go with it. So from a income standpoint, it's hard to know exactly what to tell you. I do know this: if you are a W-2 salaried person or just W-2 person in general, you're an employee, we're going to want your HR's contact information, because what they will do is before closing, a couple of days before closing, they're going to call to make sure you're still gainfully employed and that you haven't turned into resignation or that they haven't, put you on leave or whatever it may be. So understand, we will need some contact information for your company to verify that before you leave. If you're a contractor, so I was like, hey, I work for, Manpower, who contracts me out to somewhere. Again, that'll complicate things to some degree because they want a predictable income. And if you're on a contract that's expiring soon, that can make things challenging. So they may want to see an employment contract. Or let's say you're starting a new job. Like you got your job offer and it starts within the next 30 days. We can do those loans, but it needs to be fully executed. There can't be any contingencies, no like drug test pending. So again, it depends on what you're doing, but hopefully this gives you at least a broad understanding of kind of what's needed and why. So ultimately, if you do have questions, and you will, right? You don't know what's needed. I don't know what's needed. I've been doing this for 20 years and I can't tell you what you need. It's going to be based on you, your credit, your down payment, the assets in the bank, how big of a risk that the overall programs assess and say, here's what we need or don't need. But certainly if you have questions, reach out to us. The Mortgage Mark team is here to help. And as always, reach out whenever you need us and share, subscribe, forward, all that stuff. And thanks for watching. And remember, when you think mortgage, think Mark.